This is it, ladies and gentlemen, the unclassified CDS planning directive known as Operation Vector, the Canadian Armed Forces support to COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Here's the situation. This directive is an order that applies to all officers and non-commissioned members of the Canadian Armed Forces. It is intended to initiate detailed planning for the establishment of Operation Vector, the CAF support to the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. This operation will be separate from Operation Laser, but recognizes that there will be overlap at the tactical level. Canada has announced agreements with 7 leading vaccine manufacturers to procure enough doses to potentially immunize all Canadians against COVID-19 by the end of 2021. Initial expected shipments of 2 vaccines from January to March in 2021, known as Track 1, will likely be sufficient to immunize approximately 3 million Canadians. As provinces, territories, and Indigenous communities do not have the required infrastructure or experience to handle these Track 1 vaccines, which must be stored at ultra-cold temperatures, they will be delivered through a federally coordinated strategy led by the Public Health Agency of Canada, or PHAC. The DND and CAF is already providing significant logistical planning and operational coordination support to this effort. Following the delivery of Track 1 vaccines, it is anticipated that more typical vaccines involving less supply chain complexity will be introduced. Regional health systems are more accustomed to handling these types of vaccines, suggesting that a decentralized approach is likely for follow-on tracks. And, meanwhile, COVID-19 continues to pose a significant threat to the well-being of Canadians. Well, no, it doesn't. We got like a 99.98% survival rate. In fact, there's only 166 Canadians in all of Canada who has died as a result of being infected with COVID-19. That's outside of long care homes, but that's the reality on the numbers. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Thousands of nations' citizens are being infected daily. Yeah, case numbers mean nothing. Don't forget that, guys. Healthcare systems are under significant duress, and the CAF is again being called to support vulnerable populations. Guys, we're going to cover this, and the reason why this is important today is because of this. Feds outlined plan to administer first COVID-19 vaccines, launching their dry run next week. Guys, the federal government has outlined its initial plans to administer what are being considered Canada's Track 1 COVID vaccines, Pfizer and Moderna, in the coming weeks and months. And this is quite concerning because we're seeing stories like this. World's largest vaccine maker sues a trial volunteer who alleged side effects. A participant in a COVID-19 vaccine trial has been sued for $13.5 million for defamation. Guys, this person took a vaccine, a COVID-19 trial vaccine, which some would consider to be a brave and noble thing to do. I think it's stupid, but nonetheless, this man did it. He then is suffering neurologically. He's speaking out against that, and the company is suing him for $13.5 million. Perhaps that's why we're also now seeing things like this. Pfizer has just been given protection from legal action by the UK government. The UK government has granted pharmaceutical giant Pfizer a legal indemnity protecting it from being sued, enabling its coronavirus vaccine to be rolled out across the country as early as next week. Do you guys see a pattern here? Do you see a problem? We also see now that Obama, former Presidents Clinton and George Bush are now publicly saying that they will take the coronavirus vaccine live on camera to build public trust after 42% of Americans say they wouldn't take the shot. And that's quite promising. But why do you think that is, guys? Why do you think the American people are not trusting their health authorities and the government? Oh, gee, could it be because of things like this? Remember the 1940s newsreel that revealed how people were being sprayed with dangerous pesticides in the hope of curing polio, guys? DDT being sprayed on children. Here are the health officials at the time and the government officials going around spraying this stuff on children. Look at this. It was believed at the time that polio was spread by mosquitoes that carried the disease. And so the decision was reached to tackle areas with a high rate of polio with pesticide. DDT was perhaps the best and most effective pesticide available at the time, and so an astonishing 1.34 billion tons of the chemical was sprayed across the United States in the years between 1946 and 62. However, the United States' decision to use chemical was short-sighted, to say the least. Its impact on the environment was significant, making its way into the food supply and being reported to cause neurological problems in livestock such as cows. Guys, this isn't just a U.S. phenomenon as well. We've had similar things here. Poisoned in the 50s by the U.S., 3 members of U.S. Congress are demanding answers after a new book reveals details of how citizens in Canadian and U.S. cities, including Medicine Hat, CFRB, Suffield, and Winnipeg, were sprayed, injected, and fed radiation by the U.S. military during secret Cold War era testing. Guys, I'd also like to point you to this interview I did with Dr. Ron Paul on COVID-19 vaccines, government overreaction, and the importance of resisting tyranny. Guys, in this interview, Dr. Ron Paul explains how he was in office during the 1976 swine flu epidemic, where more people died from getting the vaccine than they did from actually contracting the flu. So we're going to cover all of this in today's video and much more, guys. But before we do, I'd ask that you check me out here at subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Here you can sign up for $5 a month, $10, $20, $50, $100, $1,000 if you can afford it. Whatever you can do is greatly, greatly appreciated moving forward, guys. These guys are less likely to censor my content moving forward. So please check out subscribestar.com/pressfortruth. Links are located in the description below. All right, guys, this is it. This is the big one.